All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Or good afternoon, depending if I see you after lunch. Today we're going to be talking about how to solve for x when it's on both sides of the equal sign. You notice I got some of the blanks filled in up here, right? You have to distribute through the parentheses using multiplication. Has to be done. From there, and by the way, that distribution thing, it's not that bad. It's not that hard. From there, you're going to end up moving the smaller x from one side of the equal sign to the other. Like when I look at this, I got 2x, I got 4x. I compare those and I say, oh, 2x is smaller than 4x. So I'm going to cancel it out. That's why this first step here is to minus the 2x on both sides. When I minus 4x and 2x, I end up with, 2x. That 2x is what I get to keep. Okay. Next, I get to add or subtract the number that is on the x side. From this point, I have two sides of the equal sign. I have an x on the right side and no x's on the left. So I'm going to cancel out that number that is by itself that has no x next to it. In this case, it's that minus 15. For those of you that are a little bit confused, it's like when you have a cell phone. It's in your pocket. It's next to you. And when Mr. Ring says, give me your cell phone, it's hard to take away. You don't want to give it up because you're attached to it. It's something that you care very deeply for. It's right next to you, just like it always is, because you don't want it to leave your side. It's the last thing you want taken away. Just like in this equation, that number that's next to your x is going to be the last thing that x wants taken away. And so it's the last thing you should take away. Take away that negative 15. When you add 15 to both sides to cancel out that minus 15, you end up with negative 9 plus 15 equaling 6, and then 2x being left on the right side. Your last step, I know it says to multiply or divide, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to be dividing. So you divide by that number that's in front of your x, and you go, okay, 2 divided by 2 is 2, and then 6 divided by 2 is 3. That's what tells you that your x here equals that 3. All right, so what we're going to do next is we are going to go to that first example at the bottom of this page, right? So let's do it. At the bottom of this page, you're going to see this example here. All right, I'm actually going to go through this with you instead of leaving it on the screen. I'm going to say that when I look at this, I don't have parentheses. I don't have to distribute. I get to skip that step, and all I have to do now is start looking at moving my x from one side of the equal sign to the other. And once again, the easiest one to move is the one that is smaller. And when I look at these two, 2x and 6x, I know that 2x is smaller. That's what I'm canceling. I cancel the 2x since it's positive. I'm using subtraction to make it go away. Okay. Cancel 2x using subtraction. And so when I subtract 2x on the right side and the left side, the left side here, you're going to see that the 2x minus 2x cancels, and the 6x, take away the 2x, is going to not cancel, but reduce a little bit. I get that gone. And the equation here is going to be 3 plus, or 3 equals 4x minus 17. All right. So now I get to start looking for the numbers that my x is not attached to. My x is not attached to that 17 like it is attached to that 4. So I'm going to cancel that 17 out by doing the opposite of what it is written there with. Okay? Instead of minus 17, I'm going to cancel it by adding 17 instead on both sides. All right? How do I do that? I just do plus 17 underneath both of those numbers that don't have x's there. I'm going to do plus 17 on this side too. That's going to cancel. And all I have to do is bring down what 3 plus 17 is, which is 20. and then that 4x that's on the side right there. All right. 20. Come on, type here. 20 equals 4x. Sweet. Now, what I got to do is cancel out that number that's right in front of the x. That's that 4. Okay. How do I cancel out that 4? By using division. 4 cancels, and I use division. And when I do this, I'm going to make it look like a fraction, because that way, if it doesn't divide out equally, I can keep my answer as a fraction. But, this one right here, I have it set up to where it is a whole number when you divide it. 20 divided by 4 is 5, and 5 is what x equals. We've got that one done. I'd like for you to take a chance, and if you need to, pause it by tapping the center of the screen once or twice until the video pauses. Get it copied down. I want to make sure you have this on your notes to refer back to if you need it. Next thing we're going to do is have you resume this once you got it copied down, and we will move on to the back. All right, so this first question that's on the back, the first one, or the top one, it does have some parentheses here, which means we're going to have to distribute. That means, well, multiply. Multiply that 3 by my first term. 3 times 1 is 3. I do the same thing with that minus 2x. 3 times minus 2 is minus 6. It also gets the x, and that equals, well, x minus 12 hadn't changed at all. From here, I know that some people like to see it with a line drawn down the center of these equal signs. We'll keep that line here just in case it makes it easier for you. Okay, so I start canceling out my numbers. Well, like what? Like my x. I've got the choice of moving the minus 6 or the x. I just have to know which one is smaller. In this case, the minus 6 is smaller, and the opposite of minus 6 is plus 6. So we're going to add 6 x's to the left side, and we're going to add 6 x's to the right side. X plus another 6 x's makes a total of 7 x's, and that is what I'm going to bring down here. My 3 is going to equal those 7 x's minus 12. Hey, since x and 7 are next to each other, I need to cancel out the other number that's not the 7. I need to cancel out that 12. And instead of that minus 12 that needs to be canceled, I'm going to end up canceling, or I'm going to end up using the plus 12 instead. So let's go ahead and add 12 on both sides. Add 12. Add 12. 3 plus 12 happens to be 15. 15 equals the 7x from earlier. Now, you can already see where this is going. I have to divide by the 7 on both sides, right? Well, when I divide by 7 on both sides, the one on the right side cancels. The one on the left doesn't. It's still just 15 over 7. Can't reduce. Can't become a whole number. So honestly, the answer here is going to be the 15 over 7, and that's what equals x. I don't have to worry about finding a decimal or whatever like that. Keep it as the fraction, and we are good to go. Once again, pause the video. I want to make sure you guys have this written down. Okay? All right. Next thing I want to talk about is that last one that's at the bottom of the page. That one requires distributing twice. Once on the left side, once on the right side. I take that 3, I multiply it by the 4, I multiply it by the negative 3. 3 times 4 is 12, and that negative 3 times the 3 from before is negative 9. So I get 12 minus 9x. On the left side, that minus that we had from earlier is another way to say minus 1. I can multiply that negative 1 times this 4 here as well as that 3 here. Negative 1 times 4, well, 1 times 4 is pretty easy. It's just 4. 1 negative and 1 positive leaves that with a negative 4. X, because the x goes with that 4. That 3 times negative 1 happens to be negative 3 now, and that equals that 12 minus 9x we had from earlier. Our goal now is to be able to get fewer x's by getting rid of whichever x is smaller. All right. So, negative 4x and negative 9x. The negative 9x is smaller. It's farther away from 0. And since it's already minus 9x, if I add the 9x on the left side and I add the 9x on the right side, I say, okay, the one on the right side cancels. Negative 4x plus 9x is just a positive 5x. The minus 3 on the left side is still there, and it still equals the 12 that I had on the other side. From there, what do I have to cancel? I have to cancel that minus 3, and I do that by adding 3 and adding 3 on this side too. When I do that, I get 5x equals 15. Good news. When I divide by 5 on both sides, I end up getting a whole number. And that whole number is where x equals 3. All right. I'm going to go ahead and add those lines to show my fractions here. These are the steps. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to complete your worksheet front and back, and I will see y'all tomorrow.